Humans have lived with viruses for thousands of years. With modern medical advancements, most viruses are now treatable and don't usually make the news. But when it comes to HIV, misinformation about HIV transmission, prevention, and effective treatment leads to a disturbing cycle of fear and stigma around HIV. In Canada, the law requires those of us living with HIV to disclose our HIV status before engaging in any kind of sexual activity where there's a realistic possibility of passing HIV to another person. But the law does not define what it means by realistic possibility. HIV is a relatively fragile virus. It can only be passed between people under very specific circumstances. In fact, if we know our HIV status and we have access to HIV treatment, those of who are HIV positive can have undetectable viral loads. That means there's so little HIV in our bloodstream it doesn't show up on a lab test, according to a consensus statement by leading HIV doctors of Canada. This makes the chance of transmission negligible, whether or not we use a condom. With treatment, HIV can be a manageable chronic health condition. The pervasive fear and discrimination that drive criminal charges reflect an outdated understanding of the virus. That's why, in 2014, a group of Canadian doctors and health professionals released a statement in the Canadian Journal of Infectious Diseases saying that criminalization of HIV non-disclosure is founded in a poor understanding of science. Criminalizing those of us living with HIV doesn't protect the public health, but it does do three things. 1. Misleads the public. Sentencing a person living with HIV who did not disclose this information implies that people will disclose their status for fear of legal action. This undermines the idea that sexual health is everyone's responsibility and may put more people at risk. HIV criminalization also misleads the public through the irresponsible media reporting around criminal trials. Portraying those of us living with HIV as criminals only increases the stigma around the virus. 2. Marginalizes those most at risk. Marginalized communities suffer more of the consequences of HIV criminalization. Youth, people who use drugs, Indigenous people, queer and trans people, people of color, immigrants, and refugees already face systemic and institutional barriers. Criminalizing HIV further excludes people with these barriers from accessing the healthcare we all deserve. 3. Discourages testing. Most HIV transmissions occur when people do not know they are HIV positive. This is why encouraging everyone to get tested is so important. Criminalizing non-disclosure of status discourages people from getting tested for fear of criminal consequences. At YouthCO, our role is in peer education and peer support around HIV and Hep C. Through our work, we are building communities that know the truth about HIV and can stand up to media and legal systems that spread fear and myths rather than facts. We stand against criminalization of HIV non-disclosure, which we strongly oppose. We call on the Canadian justice system to make evidence-based decisions around HIV, and we call on media to report without sensational language and misinformation. Join us in working to end fear and stigma and supporting everyone living with HIV.